Here is another example of long division that involves a missing term or missing terms on both the dividend and the divisor. As you can see, the dividend starts with x to the sixth. It's missing the x to the fifth term somewhere here. It jumps to x to the fourth, missing x to the third term somewhere here. Also, x to the second is missing somewhere there. And then jumps to x to the first, 4x, and then add the constant. The same thing, the denominator is missing, the divisor is missing the x squared term and the x term. So here is the dividend rewritten with all the missing terms included. Alright, so now on the next slide you will see that I have rewritten also the divisor. Here it is. So now on this next slide you can see that I've already included the missing terms on the divisor with the 0x squared and 0x included. So our first job is to divide the first term x to the sixth by the first term in the divisor x to the third. X to the sixth divided by x to the third. Remember that whenever we divide exponents, we're actually subtracting the exponent, like 6 minus 3. So the answer will be x to the third. So now we see that the answer to the division of x to the sixth and x to the third is x to the third, which I've actually placed on top of the bar right above the x to the third terms. Alright? In this next slide now you can see that I have actually multiplied the answer that we got from the division. I have multiplied it by the divisor. As you can see, x to the third times x to the third is x to the sixth. X to the third times 0x squared is 0x to the fifth. X to the third times 0x is 0x to the fourth. X to the third times -1 is negative x to the third. So if we are following along in the process, the algorithm, after division and multiplication, the next thing is to subtract. See, we're going to subtract this quantity from the dividend. So let's subtract. This x to the 6 are going to cancel out because of the negative x to the 6 if you distribute the negative into every single term inside these parentheses. The 0 are gone, they are just 0. Now this is also 0, but you do 4 minus 0 is just 4x to the third, right? And then you have 0x to the third minus negative x to the third. Remember that the minus, the negative minus becomes positive. That's why I have plus x to the third here. Again, the negative turns this sign to plus. So 0 plus x to the third is x to the third. Next, I just bring down the remaining terms from the dividend. And now in the next slide, you see that I have begun to do the cycle all over again. What I did was dividing the first term of the new dividend now by the first term of the divisor. Okay, so 4x to the fourth divided by x to the third is 4x. You might need to pause the video and think through that if you are not sure. The 4x to the fourth divided by x to the third is 4x. Next, after division, we're going to multiply 4x times 4x cubed. All these terms in the divisor, we're going to multiply by 4x. This is the result This is the result of multiplication by 4x. Multiply 4x times that, all of this, we will get this after you multiply. If I need to pause the video and think through the multiplication of this single unit here, the single item here, by each of these terms will give you this. Next, we're going to actually subtract all of those. Now, this is the result of the subtraction of this is going to go away. Now, this is going to become just x to the third minus 0 is x to the third. 0 minus 0 is just 0. And then negative 4 minus negative 4x. Negative 4x minus negative 4x is actually going to be 0 because this sign is going to become positive after you have distributed this negative all the way inside. This becomes positive. So you have negative 4x plus 4x is 0x, and then you bring down that 1. So now we start another cycle of division, multiplication, subtraction. So the next slide will be when we are going to actually divide now. This is the result. 1 is the result of dividing s cubed by another s cubed. So s cubed divided by s cubed is 1. That's the 1 right here. Okay, now we have divided. The next thing is to multiply. We're going to take this 1, use it to multiply all of these terms in the divisor. And when you do that, what you get, it's going to be exactly the same thing. All this is going to be the same. Copy down here because 1 times anything is the same thing. And now we're going to subtract. When you subtract, every single time is exactly the same. When you change the sign with this negative, put the negative inside there, you're going to have negative s cubed. S cubed plus negative s cubed is going to go away. 0 is going to go away. It's going to go away. Negative 1 plus 1 is going to be 0. That concludes the process because we are left with nothing. Now the dividend is the actual answer that we're looking for. The quotient is just the terms that are on top of this bar. So our multiplication process is completed by rewriting the problem and then writing the quotient in the front of it like we just have right now. That concludes the video for this second example.